And also tonight, ABC News has learned of a devastating setback to America's security. A story that reads like an international spy thriller, except it's all too real. At least a dozen U.S. undercover agents have been captured and are feared executed. Tracking this exclusive story tonight is our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross. This is something.
Indeed, George. Intelligence analysts say the U.S. is now flying blind in Iran and Lebanon after those dozen U.S. paid spies in two distinct networks have been caught with fears they have been or soon might be executed. In Iran, the loss is a huge and embarrassing intelligence setback, especially with the country on the verge of building a nuclear weapon.
Look, the United States blind in the Middle East can only hurt this country's national security in a very significant way.
The CIA only realized how bad it was after viewing a news story on state-run TV in Iran. Usually labeled lies and propaganda by the U.S., American officials say this broadcast actually revealed some CIA sources and methods. The program even showed the websites of several companies that the Iranians said were CIA fronts used for covert communications.
U.S. agents used these identities to contact Iranian citizens whom they had targeted for covert operations.
In Lebanon, most of the CIA's spy network inside the terror group Hezbollah has also been compromised, U.S. officials said today. Part of the blame, they say, goes to sloppy procedures by CIA officers in Beirut.
We have lost our touch with espionage.
It turns out the CIA met many of its spies in the same places, a Pizza Hut and a public beach, and failed to detect two double agents sent in by Hezbollah who learned of the secret locations. ABC's Alexander Marquardt is in Beirut.
Through careful monitoring, Hezbollah was able to figure out who the U.S. diplomats and handlers were.
In Washington today, no one wanted to talk publicly about the massive CIA failure. At the State Department,
I'm certainly not going to comment on anything having to do with intelligence.
Or at the White House.
I'm not going to comment on intelligence matters from here.
The only public comment comes from an unnamed U.S. official who said that failure can always be expected in the risky game of espionage. For the exposed U.S. assets, failure will most likely mean a death sentence. For the U.S., it means a dangerous gap in the knowledge of what two determined U.S. enemies are up to.